The Sacramento metropolitan area has about 2.4 million people living here. And the city of Sacramento on its own has over 535,000 people living here. Needless to say, Sacramento is huge. So today I'm breaking down 5 areas where most homebuyers from out of town are getting blindsided, and what you should know before moving here. And what looks close on a map can sometimes mean totally different lifestyles. We're talking about commute times, walkability, school quality, shopping areas, and even different property tax rates. Especially in newer construction communities, those property tax rates can sway dramatically depending on exactly where you buy. Now, I recently came out with a video on the top 5 Sacramento suburbs that we're seeing our clients move into. But for this video, I want to focus on the second thoughts, the things most people don't realize until after they move in. These are the top 5 places to reconsider if you're thinking about moving here into Sacramento. All right, let's get into the first suburb where I think most people are getting caught off guard, and that's gonna be Roseville, California. Now, some of you guys might be really excited about Roseville. It's truly a very popular area, and we've had tons of clients move in. And typically when people are thinking about Roseville, maybe they have their families that are wanting to move in, they're considering the highly rated schools, or at least the schools they keep hearing about. That's one of the huge selling points, especially on the newer part of Roseville. But one thing to keep in mind is that Roseville is actually tied to multiple school districts, and all of them are not rated the same. In fact, some have much lower ratings than others. So depending on where exactly you buy in Roseville, this can have a drastic impact on the type of schools your kids might be in. Now, Roseville is located on the northern side of the Sacramento region, and it does matter where you actually plan to live. And I've actually done a video on this where I kind of break down the east, central, and the west side of Roseville. So if you want to check that out, make sure to do that after this video to get a full breakdown. But where I'm seeing most clients looking is on the newer side of Roseville, which is really going to be that west side of Roseville. And if we're looking at West Roseville, it kind of gets broken down right here, all in this basically section on the west side of Roseville, right? And you would think that with all these new construction homes coming in, there's new schools and surrounding. If you've even watched some other YouTube videos, it just seems like everything is absolutely amazing out there. But the key thing here is that the school districts actually change. And there's a general rule of thumb that I follow and share with my clients. And one thing I find is that if you are going to be buying in this northern section of the West Roseville portion, that tends to be where all the newer schools are going on right now. In fact, that's where the new West Park High School is as well. And I find that a lot of the higher rated schools are in that upper section. The further mid you go right here, the school district can change as well. Again, it's very dependent on boundary lines and streets. So this is just a rough graphic for you. And if you go south, the school district changes again. It actually even ties into a school district that's tied to Antelope, which is a city technically south of Roseville. So all of those can have different ratings, and all of those will have different schools that your kids might be attending. Now, even if you don't have kids, I know that this would still be a consideration for some people who are looking for investment purposes. They want to have a rental out there that's still tied to some awesome schools, or just even long-term value. So when you're looking on that west side of Roseville and all that new construction, and even though there's some really gorgeous homes, regardless of where you land out there, that's going to be a strong consideration if you're moving here. Now, one quick tip here, if you are considering a community like this or any new construction area for that purpose, I always recommend calling the school district directly, because you want to see how the schools are being impacted and if there's still room. So this is something that's been going on with some of these bigger new construction areas all over Sacramento. Just want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence before moving forward on a new home. Now, the second big thing that's a really big drawback about Roseville is going to be the freeway access. Now, if you live in like central Roseville or east Roseville, the freeway access can be fairly quick. But if you're going on the west side where all this new development just keeps moving further and further and expanding, as of right now, some of these homes, it may take you 15 to 20 minutes just to get access to either Highway 65 or Highway 80, depending on how traffic is moving. So if you're someone who's commuting a lot, you want that quick freeway access, the West Roseville side, it may not be for you. But if you're someone who works from home, maybe don't really care about the long commute times and have a local job, this may work well for you. Now, one final big thing that I want to mention about Roseville is that just on the northern side, there's actually a landfill that's technically in Lincoln. And just to show it on a map here, you can see that it's just north of the West Roseville side where all that new development is still taking place. Just to kind of give you reference, Placer One, which is a huge new development in Placer County, is getting built right there just south of this area. So if you're thinking about Roseville or different parts of Roseville, I have heard from certain people, just depending on where exactly you live in this northern part of Roseville, you may want to think twice, because if you're very sensitive to certain smells, depending on how the wind is going, this might be a second consideration for you. While I hope I haven't ruined Roseville for you just yet, to be honest, it is a very popular area that people are moving into, and it's still truly one of the top suburbs in Sacramento. And if you want to avoid some of these things that I'm mentioning in a video like this, you're thinking about Roseville or other suburbs that we're going to be mentioning later in this video, you can always reach out to our team to make sure that you're getting the inside scoop on each area. We literally help clients relocate into Sacramento on a weekly basis, and we have these conversations all the time. So if you're thinking about moving here into Sacramento, you want to avoid some of these mistakes on where people are buying, we'd love to help you out. You can always reach out to our team. Our information is always in the description. All right, so let's get into the next one. It's going to be Rancho Cordova. Also, another popular suburb that people are moving into, especially when relocating into Sacramento. Now, Rancho Cordova can feel very different. There's the older part of Rancho Cordova where there's a lot of more older developed homes, some even along the river. And then there's really the part on the south side of Rancho Cordova, which is where all that new development is taking place. And referencing some of these newer areas in Rancho Cordova, it's going to be really on the south side right here. And there's definitely a mix as far as pricing goes in those areas as well. But most people we're seeing relocate into these newer areas because that's where that new construction is going on. But the first thing most people need to consider is the location on where this is at. I'll be honest with you, based on the southern location in Rancho Cordova, when you're driving out there for the first or second time, you may feel like you're going to an island of homes, if you will. It's kind of out there and on its own with all this new development. In fact, off of Highway 50 right here, you're gonna take Sunrise going south right here, and that's really the main road that gives you entrance to this area. Now, while you're going down Sunrise Boulevard right there, you're going to be passing a lot of commercial and industrial buildings as well. So you're going to feel this kind of separation between the two of like the original Rancho Cordova, I'll call it, and the newer side of Rancho Cordova. But don't get me wrong here, once you get into the newer development side, it is pretty nice and there's a lot of building going on there. Now, the second reason why you may want to reconsider this part of Rancho Cordova is there's actually a couple school districts in here as well. You have the Rancho Cordova Unified School District, and you have the Elk Grove Unified School District. Now, I am seeing some of the more recent new home communities tying more into the Elk Grove Unified School District. And that's all great. That is a large school district, I believe one of the largest in the Sacramento County. The downside here is though, even though there's been some schools that have been developed over the years in this newer part of Rancho Cordova, they still don't have a proper high school within this zone. Most people tying into the Elk Grove Unified School District here will still have to commute about 25 minutes to get to Elk Grove's high school that's within their district. And that leads me to point number 3 to consider is that there's actually also a landfill on the southeastern side of all this new development. As you can see there on the map, it's just a couple minutes away if you were to drive there. But I'll be honest with you, I've been in this area tons of times and we've had a lot of clients move into this newer part of Rancho Cordova. It hasn't really been too much of an issue for a lot of our clients, but some people have noted just depending on where you live in this newer development and how the wind is going along, you may have some smell there. So that is going to be a serious consideration for some of you guys out there. And another thing to note here while I have this map up is you will see on the western side, you have the Mather Airport as well. And that's not super close, but it is in the vicinity of this newer development. All right, let's get into the next one, and that's going to be El Dorado Hills. Now, El Dorado Hills is known to be one of the most premium places to live in the Sacramento area, but in my opinion, at somewhat of a cost. Now, El Dorado Hills is located on the most eastern portion of the Sacramento region, And that's probably going to lead into the first thing that you may want to consider, and that's going to be the commute times. El Dorado Hills is kind of further out there and up the hill as you're going up Highway 50. And because of that, if you're someone who's going to be commuting a lot, you're going to be driving on the freeway a lot, maybe even going back towards the Bay Area once in a while, that's going to cost you. And right now with traffic times, it can easily take 45 minutes or more during traffic hour to get into downtown Sacramento. Not to mention, Highway 50 is consistently going through construction. It seems like forever that they've been doing construction out there. And so the closer you get to central Sacramento and the downtown area, the traffic does get much worse. And so because of that, expect delays, expect standstill stops at random times, even in the evening sometimes when driving through downtown. So that's going to be the first thing to know. Now let's get into the second big thing, and I think this is actually an even bigger issue for El Dorado Hills, and that's going to be the home insurance. Not only is it getting more and more expensive to buy a home in El Dorado Hills, it's getting more and more expensive and harder to find home insurance. Now, this is a big blindside for a lot of people moving here into Sacramento. They don't understand that many of the homes in the foothills or next to wildland areas are actually having a very difficult time getting insured. A lot of these homeowners actually end up on the California Fair Plan, which is known to have very high premiums and really not the best coverage. And if you're not familiar with the Fair Plan, it's really like a last resort insurance policy for those people who can't get standard home insurance. And I just want to make it clear that this is not only happening in El Dorado Hills. Other various parts of Folsom, Granite Bay, Loomis, and even Auburn, a lot of these areas that have those big, beautiful open spaces that have that foresty feel, just depending on where you land, you may have to be on the California Fair Plan. So my recommendation to our clients is always to get a home insurance quote before writing an offer or moving forward on a property. All right, so let's get into the next consideration for El Dorado Hills, and that's gonna be the higher utility costs. Being in El Dorado Hills, you're actually gonna be a part of PG&E for gas and electric, whereas if you go just next door into Folsom, they're a part of SMUD, which is in Sacramento County, whereas El Dorado Hills is in El Dorado County. So if you're looking for lower utility costs, you may want to consider this one again. And the next one is limited new construction homes. Right now in El Dorado Hills, there's just not a lot of new development going on where you can go in, pick a lot, and get your home built, especially in the affordable price ranges. There are a few new communities, one being Toll Brothers right now, opening a community that's estimated to be about $2 million or more, but they will have fantastic large lots and some beautiful views. And if you want to get the inside scoop on some developments like this, my team and I specialize in new construction and development around Sacramento. You can always reach out to our team if you're looking to find the right community and information on new builds like this. And another consideration is that even though El Dorado Hills is absolutely beautiful, you have hillside living, a lot of these nature in open preserved spaces, wildlife comes with the territory. So if you do not like wildlife or the possibility of snakes, this is going to be another serious consideration. I've literally had some clients hear about that and decide not to buy in some of these areas like this. But just know that if you're going to be moving to this part of Sacramento and surrounding, there is going to be wildlife, there is going to be deer, turkeys, coyotes, and possibly even rattlesnakes in that area. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not like they're crawling all over the place. I mean, I've lived here my whole life and I've only seen a few. So just depending on where you live, you may have to deal with more wildlife than you might be comfortable with. And the last one I'm going to leave you with is going to be the HOAs. Now, even though El Dorado Hills is known to be very well taken care of, all the landscaping is immaculate, and you have some really high-end communities, whether the area is gated or not, you may still have to deal with an HOA, so that's something you want to consider. And the next one just next door is going to be Folsom. And Folsom is probably one of the most requested suburbs that we get from relocators moving here into Sacramento. And it's really popular amongst tech professionals, medical professionals, and even nature enthusiasts. If you want that suburb lifestyle that's got access to all the shopping and great schools, but still want to be able to take a hike or go visit the lake, Folsom is a popular one. We look at the map here, all that new construction that's going on and all that development is really just south of Highway 50 right here. So all that new construction is going on in here. But because of that, all that new construction is also making a lot of congestion in this area. Now, specifically, this is gonna happen right off Highway 50 going up right here. And one of the main exits for this newer part of Folsom Ranch and Russell Ranch we'll call it, is going to be East Bidwell going south right here. Now, because of this, there is a bridge right here where all the traffic flows in and out from. Now, if you're going to be living in this part of Folsom Ranch, it makes it super convenient for all the shopping, dining, all the fun stuff that makes Folsom, well, Folsom. And because of that one main street, East Bidwell, that's kind of that in and out portal from the newer development side to all the shopping and Costco and everything else on the other side, it's become a real bottleneck for the area. And there's been times that I've even been driving through here on showings and it's the middle of the day and it seems like there's just a lot of cars stacked on that bridge over Highway 50. But all of East Bidwell in general is getting more and more busy. And I think local Folsom residents would agree with this, that this is really the busy part of town right now. Now, the second big thing you're going to want to really consider before moving into this newer part of Folsom is going to be the taxes. There's definitely a higher tax rate on these newer homes in Folsom, specifically south of Highway 50, where all that new development is going on. Their property taxes are much higher than the rest of Folsom. And this is primarily due to Mello-Roos and special assessment taxes. And these Mello-Roos and special assessments are essentially paying for all that new development and infrastructure coming to the area. We're talking about new schools, the new fire station, new parks, and all the other things that make a community like this great and exciting for people wanting to move in. But the cost on some of this is real. We've had new builds sell in this area with Mello-Roos monthly at about $300, and I've seen some in the upper 400s for the area. And it does vary drastically depending on where you buy. Whether you buy in one community over here, it could be $300. If you buy in the next one, it could be $400 just down the street. And when these Mello-Roos and special assessment taxes are added into your overall property tax bill, your tax rate is technically a lot higher than what the rest of Folsom is paying. Some of the property taxes, when it's all said and done, can be high as 1.5, 1.6% or more annually, whereas some of these older and established areas may have a tax rate as low as 1.1%. But I will say this is something that I call the pay to play tax. If you want to be in the newer up and coming area, if you want to be in where all the development is going on and kind of get the benefit of all those new schools coming to the area, you will be paying for it with Mello-Roos or special assessment taxes. But you definitely want to keep in mind that Folsom, at least this newer side, has some of the higher tax rates out of all the areas that we're covering. So always make sure that if you are looking at new construction homes or new communities, make sure to find out what those taxes are looking like. And if you want to know more about things like this and possible issues like this to avoid, to make sure you're not overpaying for some community, you can always reach out to our team. This is something we help people with every single week moving here into Sacramento. If you're looking at new construction homes, you can always reach out to us for a free consultation. All right, let's get into the last one. And this one doesn't get mentioned nearly enough, but it's still a popular suburb that we have people moving into all the time. That's going to be Lincoln, California. Now, Lincoln is really on the northern edge of the Sacramento region, even past places like Roseville that we mentioned earlier. Now, because of its proximity out there, it can feel like it's kind of on its own as a suburb, and it feels a little further out of Sacramento. Now, some people may actually enjoy that because it gives them like a small town feel in a newer suburb area that still has a lot of amenities, and it kind of gets them away from the hustle and bustle of Sacramento. But because of that, the commute times can be super long, especially because of Highway 65. And this is probably the biggest con, in my opinion, is going to be the Highway 65 traffic. Now, Lincoln probably deals with it the worst because they technically have the longest road along Highway 65 going down south. But Roseville and Rockland can be dealing with this just as much depending on where you live. Now, to me, it seems like the Highway 65 traffic is not just at certain times of the day. It seems like it's kind of throughout the day, if not all day long, and primarily closer to the intersection with Highway 80. So if you don't work nearby or at home in Lincoln, it could be a little frustrating getting to work, especially if you're taking Highway 65 down south and getting onto Highway 80 towards Sacramento or downtown. This can be a major slowdown. It could take sometimes upwards of an hour just to get to downtown Sacramento. So this may be a strong consideration for some of you guys who are commuting a lot. Now, another thing I want to mention is that I don't necessarily think it's like a con or something to avoid, but it's something that people should definitely consider, especially if you're looking at some of the newer development in Lincoln. Now, a lot of new construction is kind of going on this northern part of Lincoln, if you will. But right here is actually a local airport as well. So if you don't really want to hear planes buzzing around, and it is a smaller regional airport, but that is something that you guys might want to consider if you are going to be looking on moving into this suburb. Well, there you have it. Some of the big mistakes to avoid when moving here into Sacramento. And I know I wasn't able to cover all the suburbs in the area. There's definitely more to cover here. And if you think I missed one or there's one that you would want to hear more about, let me know in the comments down below. I love hearing from you guys, and maybe we can use that in a future video. And on that note, if you are someone who's looking to move here into Sacramento, you're thinking about relocating because of a job transfer, lifestyle change, or just want some more affordability based on where you live now, this is something we help people with on a weekly basis, and we'd be happy to help you out. So whether you're looking at new construction homes or you want to be in an older neighborhood with some charm to it, reach out to our team. We'd be happy to walk you through some of your options and some of the mistakes to avoid when moving here into Sacramento. You can always reach out to us. Our information is right there in the description. My name is Sam Glovey, and I'm Sacramento's relocation guide. If you found this video helpful or you know someone who could benefit from this, make sure to share it. And on that note, if you want to know more about the top suburbs here in Sacramento, check out this video next.